Saturday, November 19th, 2022. Today on the Daily Review, we discuss a Joel Schumacher movie from the year 2000, starring Colin Farrell, and it's not Phone Booth. It's Tigerland. Oops, why isn't this playing? Cool. Tigerland. The movie takes place in 1971 on Fort Polk in Louisiana, which is like a boot camp for it's the birthplace of the infantry. They're training obviously for Vietnam, and they spend 8 weeks in boot camp, and then the last week or something, I might get those times wrong, they spend a week in Tigerland, which is kind of a I was going to make a reference that only people in Massachusetts would get. It's like a Plymouth plantation for Vietnam. It's like a fake replica of the best they could approximate Vietnam, so that they could have like a real simulation, if that makes any sense, of what it would be like in war. Plymouth Plantation and Sturbridge Village are these places in Massachusetts that are like tourist attraction little villages where they act as if it's like 1492 or whatever. No, probably a little bit later than that. But or is it? What's Plymouth Rock? Plymouth Rock's the Mayflower. So that's later. 1040. What's that? That's the Magna Carta? All of history is collapsed into one fact now. Anyway, okay, so they're there, it's so that they can read. So it's a little bit like Biloxi Blues. It's a little bit like Full Metal. It's like Empty Metal Jacket, actually. The acting is good. The script is not very good. There's some good scenes. The cinematography is interesting. It immediately came up, and I went, okay, 2000, and it looks bad. Like, it looks great, grainy and shaky. I'm like, oh, is this digital? And I got kind of excited because I like kind of demented digital, digital before it got to where it just looks perfect or almost as good as film. But then I looked it up. I looked it up, but after a few moments, I was like, wait, this doesn't really make any sense. And it is 16 millimeter, and it's blown up to 35, so that's why it is especially grainy and gritty. And sometimes it's good, and sometimes it just makes the movie feel amateurish, even though I know it's not, I know that everybody knows what they're doing, but it just kind of comes off that way because the jitter makes it almost look a little bit like home video, because, and not specifically the handheld camera, but literally the jitter. I can't really explain it, but anyway, the story itself is full of cliches, and it's predictable, but let me tell you what it's about. It's about Colin Farrell, he's been drafted, and he's anti-Vietnam. He's anti-authority. He's like rebel without a cause. What was that? What was he, anti-authority? Yeah. And he meets Matthew Davis, whose name is Paxton. So it's Buzz and Paxton. And Paxton joined up, and he wants to be a writer, and he's idealistic, and he and whatever. And then Clifton Collins Jr. is really good in it, and Shea Wiggum. He's great. Russell Richardson's great. Cole Hauser, little cameo from Michael Shannon. I guess it's not really a cameo. But it's good, it's like the moral thing. But the thing is that Boz is so anti-authority. It's so obviously what they're saying. They're like, oh, he'd be a good leader if he weren't so like anti-authority. That doesn't make sense. But, and obviously, so it causes problems within the platoon of people who are like, this guy's a fucking communist, because he doesn't want to fight. The real downsides is the length. It's too long, and the drill sergeant, which is always such a fruitful role generally in these types of movies, I love the rain. What's that? Is that Renaissance Man? Anyway. So the Sergeant Thompson, or Thomas, or whatever his name is played by James McDonald, and it's just not good. It's not good. It's like a parody. It's a bummer. I shouldn't say it's not good. I didn't find it good. Obviously, I don't need to say it like that. But, after we have things like Arlie Ermy, it's like, oh, what are you going to do? And it just feels like they're trying, and since it's such a similar situation. Anyway, good scenes, good performances, like too simplistic of a script. Like, in some ways, a very good message. But in other ways, it's like, well, you kind of do need structure and authority in an army. And maybe he's saying, well, there shouldn't be any armies. Well, fucking zippity doo dah. Let's all go live in heaven. You need to have an army, right? So it's a little too whatever. Then there's another aspect to it. There's like this homoerotic element to it, simply because it's so gritty and everybody is shirtless and like shiny and sweating. And like there's kind of like a non-sexual love story going on between Boz and Paxton. And so there's all this kind of like, they have one scene where they like sleep with some ladies, so that, which is like, hey, it's not that kind of movie, man. Brokeback Tigerland, right? It's not that. But like it's just, there's a lot of sweaty dudes like rolling around on each other. This is not a bad thing, but it just seemed to, a few times, seem to almost be like fetishizing men, military men. You know what I mean? It felt almost exploitative is what I'm saying. Whereas it's not exploring that idea. It's just like, I feel like it's Joel Schumacher being like, "Ooh boy, I like some shiny boys," which is fine. If I could make a movie, I'd probably put shiny girls all over the place in it. So to each their own. Anyway, it's good. Oh no, wait, it's not good. I didn't really like it. Anyway, like and subscribe if you like to subscribe. I feel like this is a movie that has good performances in it, and it is worth watching if you like. There's enough stuff in it that's interesting if you're like into war movies, but if you haven't seen some of the bigger Vietnam War movies, this one should be like pretty far down your list. There's a lot bigger, better, more interesting ones. I would hit ones from other countries before I'd come back to this one. So, I do like that Colin Farrell, though. Anyways, what I learned? What did I say I learn? I didn't really learn anything. I do like 16mm blown up to 35. It makes sense, too, why they did it, because it takes place in 71. Clever. Very clever.